Serial killer Hanover. We all know vampire movies and hear about legends, and at the end of every time we go to sleep, and we are fully aware that all this is a myth and not real. But the truth isn't that. Where there are already vampires, and the period in which they live is full of endless victims, and they are always hidden among the people of the town, and no one knows anything about them. The first male vampire in history, and it was real that he fell into the hands of the police easily and didn't take time to confess from the beginning to the end with everything. Who is he, and how did he fall under the hands of the police, and what happened to his victims? Fritz Haarmann was born on 25 October 1879 in the city of Hanover in Germany, and was the sixth son of poor family. Haarmann lived a miserable childhood in which there was no pleasure or joy, as he suffered greatly from the cruelty of his father. Haarmann wasn't a good guide in his studies because of the problems he was doing, and he was always controversial and adept at deriving others, and his childhood passed in a strange way until he entered the army and began to love military life, and it wasn't long before he suffered a seizure that made him fall on his head and enter into a coma. Haarmann surpassed after the coma another person. He became more aggressive and ferocious. He was discharged from the army because of his illness and returned. He went home again and decided to work in one of the factories within the city. In 1898, he was arrested for the first time on charges of molesting a boy, but he got out of it because doctors examined him, and it was found that he suffers from mental problems and was detained in a mental institution for 6 months and then went to Switzerland, but returned to Germany in 1902 and tried to join the army again with a different identity. But he was demobilized again due to mental problems and returned to Hanover again. Haarmann's first victim was Friedel Roth, a 17-year-old boy who disappeared in September 1918 and was last seen with Haarmann. So the police went to his house, and here was the surprise, as the police found another boy in Haarmann's house, and Haarmann was molesting him, and he was taken to the police station on charge of a child molestation without searching the house where Friedel's head was located, and Haarmann was sentenced to 9 months in prison. Haarmann got out of jail and started giving them news about criminals and helping them solve cases, and started to be a part of them so that they wouldn't suspect him, as behind all this was a killer sucking the blood of his victims and disposing of the body after that in the worst ways that no one can think of. He would pick the victims from the train station and then take them home to provide them with food or shelter. And he would sometimes tell them that he was a policeman and arrest them and then take them to the house and kill them, and a boy who lived with him helps him to tear up the bodies of the victims and isn't affected by what he does to the victims. The strange thing in Haarmann's story isn't the number of victims, but the method of killing that differs significantly from any killer. One day there was a group of children playing by the river Lance, and they found human bones floating on the surface of the water and told the police what they saw. The police went to check what they said. At first, they thought that the one who did it was a fox no more, but their mind changed when they discovered a bag full of human guts, and they learned that there was a killer. So they searched the water of the river, and it was searched, and they found human bones belonging to 22 boys or more, and during the police searched for any evidence that could help them, they heard a sharp fight between a boy and an old man and went to check on it. Haarmann explained to them that the boy was traveling with fake papers, But the boy lied and said that Haarmann tried to molest him. When the police found that Haarmann was in a state of anxiety and a suspicious situation, that took him to the police station to interrogate him, and by chance he was at the same time a mother going to the police to report the disappearance of her son. And when she found Haarmann, she fought with him because of the jacket he was wearing that belonged to her son. Haarmann tried at first to deny what was happening, but with the determination of the lady and that her son's name is on the inside of the jacket, the police intervened and asked Haarmann to take off the jacket so that situation would end. But the surprise here was when she found that the son's name was already in the jacket, and Haarmann fell into the hands of the police. Investigations began with Haarmann and the initially denying everything and that he wasn't the reason. The policeman asked him about the cause of the blood on the walls of the house. He said that this is because of the nature of his work and his sale of pork. The policeman didn't believe him and began to surround him with many questions until he collapsed and confessed everything, and that he was the one who did all these crimes, and explained the murder and how it happened, as he was biting his teeth on the victim's neck until his fangs entered to bite Adam's apple, and he enjoyed the blood of his victims flowing inside his mouth. He explained how to dispose of the corpse and said, "I lay the body on the floor and then put cloth on the face so that the victim's eyes don't look at me while the body is being dismembered. I then open the abdomen and extract all the entrails and put them in the bucket. Then I put a toy in the abdominal cavity with which I collect blood until the last drop. Then I make 3 cuts in the chest of the corpse from the ribs to the shoulder and tighten the ribs firmly until the bones around the shoulder break. Then I make more cuts in this area so that I can reach the heart, lung and kidneys. So I take them out and put them in the bucket. Then I separate the legs and hands, remove the meat from the bones and put it in the bag separately. It usually takes 5 trips to the river to get rid of the remains. After cleaning the abdominal cavity, I got the penis and cut it into very small pieces. I always hate doing this operation, but I can't resist the urge to kill, which is much stronger than the disgust I feel while dismembering bodies. The last part of the corpse I get rid of is the head. I hold it face down so that the eyes don't see me, and then I put some rags of cloth in the ear so that the victim doesn't hear the sound of the blows. I direct to the back of the skull and break it and extract the brain that ends up with the rest of the viscera in the bucket. He also said that he used to get rid of the meat by selling it to customers as if it was pork, and the customers were very satisfied with the meat and that it was delicious. And when the police searched the house, they found dried human meat, and Haarmann wasn't satisfied with this extent, but he also went to the families of the victims to lie to them and said that he knew where the child was and took the prize money. And he also said that the number of victims was between 40 or 70, and it's not as many as the police think. The police were in shock at what they heard from him, the ace of explaining what he was doing, and his lack of remorse for these crimes, and decided to bring him to court. Haarmann was brought to court on 19 December 1924 and sentenced to death for the murder of 24 children, and the sentence was carried out on 15 April 1925, and when he died, it took his head to study at the Junction Medical School.